All right. Okay. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to the Rush Roundtable. And this is episode 170. I am your guest host today. Think of me as your Steve Harvey, so to speak. My name is Dante. I'm super excited to be here with everybody. And today's topic, we are going to be doing favorite Alex Lifeson solos by the decade. Little footnote on the decade, we're going 70s, 80s, 90s, and then 02 to 12. So from Vapor Trails on, we're counting into the fourth decade. All right. So with that out of the way, I don't think there's anything else I need to say. Let's just jump right in because we got a lot of solos to talk about. So we're gonna do about 1 minute per solo, and then we're gonna go decade to decade in order. All right. So let's jump in. I'm excited to have this conversation. I love arguing and yelling about Rush. It's my favorite thing to do. So we're gonna start in the 70s, and we're gonna first start with Alex. Sorry, I didn't introduce everybody. So real quick, we're going to introduce everybody. We got Alex Kelly. We got Alex Belfield, who seems to be going by the name Goji. We got Kalindo Parker dialing in from traffic. What's good? We got Derek Tyler. We got Rob Bukta, and we have Evan Stevens. So now you know the names, you know the faces. Let's jump right in. So Alex Kelly is going to kick it off for us with the 70s.
Well, just making a choice on any of these solos is insanely difficult, of course. And I feel like I have to be as obvious and basic as you would expect when I say I have to choose the first solo in La Via Strangiato. I could even say I loved the Fly By Night solo for its pop simplicity. You could start talking about the trees, etc., but it's sort of the as even Kirk Hammett said, the mood that's created in that beginning solo in La Via Strangiato, and then the way it intensifies to just note heavy and breaking into that extra section that follows it. I got to go with that.
I don't think anyone can fault you for that, brother. Derek, what do you got for the 70s, man?
All right, so I picked one that not many people would have talked about, but I had to go with Anthem from Fly By Night. Just the opening of that song, and then just the way the solo kind of curves, and then you get that really like crunching note at the end, and it gets right back into the beginning, the opening chord from the opening of the song. Oh, it's so good. It's such a powerful way to open the album. Such a to me like one of like the opening statements of Neil being in the band. Just great song.
I agree. That was so close on my list to making it. Excellent choice. Excellent choice. All right, next to Rob. What you got for the 70s, Rob?
I have the Necromancer, and the reason I picked that, it's super, super dense guitar solos on all three suites, pretty much. Backward solos. I mean, it's just got everything for me as a player on a record in terms of just not just one song, but you have just a plethora of solos to go through. It's intense and it's thick and it's very textured. I know that's something that's a really important thing is the texture and the mood. Every solo he does fits the mood of each of the parts of the suite, which is again that's like that developing thing he was doing, and really that's kind of like that sort of origin story of him developing, sort of painting a picture with the solo and really kind of reflecting what's happening with the mood of the song. So that's my choice.
Love it. Love it. And that's a great choice from that album to get that album in here. I love it. All right. So next, Kalindo, what's good from
Hey, how you
traffic?
doing?
Give us the traffic
Apologies,
report.
apologies for doing this from the car. My flight was delayed. I should be home chilling right now. But all right, of course, La Villa Strangiato was my choice, but I see that it's a popular choice, so I'm gonna go with, and I love the Necromancer solo. Oh my goodness, it's so passionate. I love the slight delay you have on there. I'm gonna go with By Tour and the Snow Dog, just to give you one that no one's mentioned yet. Similarly, very passionate. I love the bluesy energy, the blues notes he's doing. Alex is playing there, and then at the end, going into those arpeggiated notes there. I love that. So, and then they do that countdown. You know what I mean? Go ga ga go ga ga go go ga ga go ga ga go ga. I remember the first time I heard that was when I was at my first Rush concert, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool! They're counting down. Oh shit! Wow!" I was a little kid at the time, so I'm gonna go with Vitor only because La Villa has been taken already.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I kind of breezed over Fly By Night when I was thinking about this, but there was a lot of crazy shit on that album. All right. Next is Evan, Not in Traffic.
I went with the soliloquy solo from 2112. Really just because I love the emotion that that solo brings out. It's almost like you can like feel the main character's anguish that like that's a part of the story. And I appreciate that it's a somber part of the song, but it still managed to just be so like jamming, and you can really rock out to that solo. And yeah, I went with that one.
Awesome. If you're a guitar player, can you even call yourself a guitar player if you haven't tried to play all of 2112? I don't think so. I don't think so. All right, Alex B, aka Goji, hit us.
So since it sounds like the Via was already said, I'll actually give a shout out to one that we mentioned before we started recording, the solo to Closer to the Heart. I mean, it is Closer to the Heart is an incredibly popular song. We all know this, but it's popular for a very good reason. The solo is just it hits that perfect tone of being technically great while having the same amount of kind of feel. I'm gonna be repeating myself on that last bit a lot, but like it just has a lot of kind of emotion and kind of feel that's put into the solo and fits the song perfectly.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, so that leaves me for the end to wrap up the 70s. A decade I was very far from in life. I was born in the 90s, but I feel it in my soul. And my solo was very quickly hinted at, and that is going to be the trees. No question for me. Nothing comes close. And and I would put it over La Villa only because I think what's happening in that song is like the magic in every Rush song is when you get those beautiful chords and Alex picks the perfect note over them, and he just does that like nobody else. And that solo just takes me to another world, man. It's so harmonically interesting, and the rhythm is great. It's just that's the one for me, man. The trees, no doubt. Um, yeah, yeah, can't beat it. All right, so that's the 70s. We wrapped it up. So now I think we're getting into the hardest decade. 80s has to be the hardest decade. Definitely took me the longest to make my pick. There's so many great ones. All right, so let's bring it back up to the top. Alex, let's hear about your solo from the 80s, man.
Then, yeah, like you say, it is absolutely impossible to choose the 80s. I mean, pretty much everything on moving pictures and so many hidden solos, like with Signals, even, and some of the stuff on Grace Under Pressure. Once again, I have to be that guy. And if Jack Black actually watches these and comments, he's gonna channel himself from High Fidelity and say, "Oh, that isn't obvious. How about Beethoven side one, track one of the Fifth Symphony?" I'm going with Limelight. Sorry, I have to go with Limelight, and I have to go with Limelight because that's one of those solos that when I started playing, I had to learn. And it just has, like they've said, that openness, that loneliness, the idea that they had the speaker cabinets outside the studio with the sound reverberating off of the Laurentian Mountains in the winter. There's just everything about that was just the coolest for me when I began playing. So, as I say, probably a little obvious. I got to go with that route.
Okay, wait, you got to tell me about that. Speakers outside.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
The idea there is that, and that's actually pretty common to have the head in the control room or
Sure.
you're plugged in close so your guitar cable can be short, but the speaker cables you could have 100 feet away, run them outside the building. So to my knowledge, that was one of the things they did, and I feel like there was at least a couple of interviews with that where the speaker cabinets were outside of the studio. And they had that lake that was on the edge of the studio, and as they say, the Laurentian Mountains in Quebec. So and winter has that silence. There were these times when they were recording all nights, and they did that with hemispheres and whatnot. So the idea there is that they experimented with the idea of having those long held notes. Can we get natural reverb? Can we get natural delay from the echo that is the great outdoors?
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never seen people put the cabinets outside. Of course, the amp's always in the room, but the cabinets are usually just in another room, not
Yeah.
outside. That's really cool, man. I did not know that. All right, Derek from the 80s, hit us.
All right. Well, like you guys touched on earlier, you could have done anything from permanent waves, moving pictures, even power windows, some of the later 80s material, but I had to go with Analog Kid for my choice. Second track from Signals. The great, excellent solo. It kind of tells the story of the main character. It's whimsy, it's adventurous, and just how he starts off being a youth and dreaming. Just great stuff all around. Personal favorite of mine.
Excellent pick. And I would argue perhaps his shreddiest solo ever. It's one of those few solos where you listen to it and you're like, good God, he can rip. Like he can always rip, but that solo rips. Excellent choice. Also was in my top 5. All right, Rob, let's hear it, brother. Bring us back to the 80s.
Yeah, very much like with Caress of Steel, with the suite of songs, I went with Natural Science. So you have 2 solos in one song, and it's really like a bag of tricks. You got the harmonics in there, you got the shred in there, you got the melody in there. The stabs with the band, especially towards the end. That riff is killer going into it. I mean, it's got all that stuff is like it's like a science experiment. He's like in the laboratory putting all this stuff on the petri dish and looking at it. And of course, I had to do a rapid fire to even pick a solo from the 80s. And if I don't do rapid fire with myself, I'm going to be here forever. I'm never going to get a solo that I want to use as my pick. So that's the one for me, man. Natural Science.
I love it. I love it. And such a beast of a song too. The riff is just so beastly.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. All right. Traffic report. Kalindo, what's up?
Man, once again, my picks were taken. Limelight is just a work of art. I didn't know that about the speakers outside. I didn't realize the cabinets were outside. That's amazing to learn that. Of course, Natural Science is another favorite. I'm gonna then switch over to The Weapon. It's just something about that jam section where Alex goes into a solo and everything that's going on around him as well. It's very emotional, melodic, and again, I know there's solos. A lot of people are going to say there are a lot better solos than those, but I always say something. That solo right there can get me emotional quite a bit. So I'm gonna go with The Weapon.
Love it. I love it. That's a great pick. Not one I would have expected, but I think your analysis it rings true. That song does kick serious ass. All right, Evan, 80s. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I was this close to going with Free Will for the 80s, but I had to go with Emotion Detector, which is my favorite song from Power Windows. I love the energy and the drive that this solo has. And one of my favorite parts about it is that it gets me really energetic, but Alex isn't the one that's doing all the heavy lifting. Getty is just going crazy in the background, and sorry. And I hate to be the generic Rush fan here and mimic what Neil's doing with my mouth, but that little drum break in the middle where he goes, it is, oh my God, it gets me so amped up. Every time I'm listening to it, I crank it up to 11, and that song is probably the reason that I have tinnitus. It's so good.
I love it. That's a great pick. It's also in my list, and I think it's just one of those deep cut Rush songs that is not, never talked about and is just so deserves it. It's the lyrics, everything. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. That's a great pick. All right, Alex B, aka Goji. What you got?
So, once again, my pick was taken almost immediately by the other Alex. So I guess there's some kind of joke about similar names, similar thoughts. Not bothered to think of one. But for me, I went with Marathon from Power Windows. Marathon, it hits the same kind of, I'm going to use the word notes, not literally, of course. Hits the same notes for me that the Analog Kid solo does, but in a much different way. It's technically impressive, maybe not as, but it just gets the feel of the song just right. Like I'm a big fan of solos with a lot of kind of like feeling them. And Marathon is just a powerful song. Like it is a perfect running song. If you have not gotten on a treadmill, listen to Marathon, do it. It is actually it's a life-changing experience. But that solo is the perfect adrenaline rush, especially when it just dips right down after that and then just picks right back up into the song. It just fits so well. So Marathon is my pick.
Excellent choice, man. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that tune. I love that one. It's so deep too, of course, goes without saying. Um, okay, so last pick for the 80s. This is me. I'm glad no one took mine because I thought they might, but this one I did have to think about it, but I would say Chemistry. And I think Chemistry is the best Rush solo ever. I would actually say it is the number one Rush solo. And the reason why is that the build up that is created leading into it and the first few notes, it just, there's no other Rush solo that makes me want to like explode more than that one. Just there's something about the restraint, yet also the extreme willingness to explode that is sort of happening back and forth. That one just sets off an energy for me that it's special. I've listened to it a billion fucking times and basically based my entire guitar style on that solo. So that's my favorite. All right, so now we're getting to the 90s. The 90s. Harder because there aren't as many. And the style of music started to change in the late 80s. Obviously, they came back to, more straight ahead rock, some guitar solos, but not a ton. I had a hard time picking one from the 90s. Very hard time. So let's get right into it. Alex, I want to hear what you got because your first pick seems to always be an icon. So start us off with the 90s.
Well, I think I'm probably gonna turn that around for this. I mean, like Ryan said before he clicked off when we were on a little while ago, my go-to in my head would have been Cut to the Chase, and my brain would still say Dreamline, and that's where Lifeson was really working the PRS bridge because it stays in tune really well. I'm gonna choose Cold Fire. I really, you take a listen to that solo on, especially on the Auburn Hills, and there's, as I say, the ones I mentioned I love, but I'm going with Cold Fire on this one. I'm not looking to be that maybe overtly iconic right now. Although I did wonder about the Victor album, which gets even more obscure. But I'm gonna stay where I am. I'm gonna look forward to hear what everyone else says.
That's an excellent choice. And I have a friend that I make music with, and he has a distortion plugin called Cold Fire by the company Arturia. And every time we pull it up, I just look at him and go, "It's a cold fire." And we just start laughing. Can't help it. Excellent choice. All right, Derek, what you got for the 80s, man? I mean, the 90s. We're moving on. 90s.
All right, so I went for another song on Counterparts. I went to Cut for the Chase myself. This solo, I didn't notice until I actually listened to it earlier before we went on, but it actually has a Iron Maiden kind of feel to it for me in the middle part. And it's so emotional and just really heavy, especially with that Kevin Shirley production. Just an excellent solo, and I really love hearing Alex back in the forefront again after the 80s. They really feel rejuvenated.
Right on. I think that's a great pick. That's a great pick. And you can't go wrong with that tune. You really can't. You really can't. Okay, Rob, what you got, man?
Yeah, I had very much the same as Derek. I had Cut to the Chase as well. It's it's a shreddy type solo, but it's also, I always envisioned that solo as like a movie, cut to the chase, and then there's the chase, and there's Alex. He's sort of recreating a chase basically, with the way he performs, the way he plays. So it's that sort of cinematic thing I mentioned earlier where he's trying to paint that picture. So if I had a second choice, I would say The Speed of Love. It's got a nice too. Yeah.
No.
There's too many, man. It's like, how do you rapid fire? I'm like,
Pick my song.
I'll take it
picked
back.
my
I'll keep the other one. It's fine. So,
No,
I gotta
keep it.
confirm with my
Tell me
choice.
about
I'm not
tell me
gonna,
about Speed of Love. Why would you pick that? Because I thought I was going to be alone.
yeah, it's just it's such a lyrical solo. It's beautiful, you know. It really, again, when you hear that solo, you can't think of any other solo that could be on that song. It's just he just knows how to put the right things in at the right places to create the right mood to fit the entire tune and to get himself in there to really kind of he's a player. They're all players, and he gets a chance to kind of tear it up a little bit. So
Yeah,
and be
yeah.
more. So
The Speed of Love solo, it's like 5 notes. You know,
yeah,
that's what I love about it. Is it's just so simple. It just elevates the melody and everything. And that's oh man, yeah, that's my favorite song from Counterparts. Excellent, excellent choice. All right, so now Kalindo with the traffic report. What you got?
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. Cut to the chase, 100%, for the same reasons. Um, it's something, every time I would buy a Rush album back in the 90s, I'm dating myself here. I would be like looking for those guitar solos. I'm like, oh, okay, there's one, I'm gonna go with Cut to the Chase, and man, and I do agree with you, by the way, on Chemistry. I forgot about that one. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna switch to Chemistry. Forgive me for that.
Yeah, I think the thing about Cut to the Chase that I love so much is the sounds, the chords that are sort of like dripping watery underneath the solo. It's just, by that point in their careers, man, they had just mastered that art of creating a textures and atmosphere, and it's just so good. All right, Evan, what you got?
Well, before we started recording, I said that I predicted that at least three of us were going to have the same answer for the 90s. I was dead wrong, apparently. I'm the only one that picked this song. I went with Ghost of a Chance from Roll the
Oh
Bones.
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
I like that solo so much just because I mean the context and like what that song's about, it's a little scary to me personally, just about the randomness of the world. It's a scary thought for me. But Alex just he manages to bring this feeling and emotion out. It's reassuring to me. It reminds me that like I like it's the randomness is okay if you just go along for the ride. I don't know, it makes me feel better. I appreciate that solo a lot. So Ghost of a Chance.
Excellent choice, man. And I mean, one of the best choruses ever.
Absolutely.
Can't beat it. You can't
It's the
beat
greatest love song ever written. It's the only one that's realistic.
it. I agree, man. It was on my list as well, and that's a excellent pick. I'm glad you brought it up. All right, Goji, Alex, what's good, man? What you got for the 90s?
I'm just gonna say I'm really happy no one said mine, so I could actually go with my first pick. I went with Bravado from Old Bones. I First of all, I love that song. So step one of loving the solo, but also it's an early solo. Like it to me every time, like first time I heard it, I was like, this is a bit early for it. Because like I'm used to like solos coming in like 2-3 minutes in, and this is like a minute and a half in or something like that. But it just fits so well. Like Bravado is it's definitely a slower one. And lyrically, I think somebody mentioned like, it's a very lyrical solo with one of Alex's solos before. And the lyrics of this song are incredible, and this solo fits in just right. It has that same, once again, here I am saying the word feel. It has the same feeling that just fits so well in this song. And it's just honestly, it's the perfect solo for the song. Like there are definitely some solos where I see like in a live version, you might deviate a little bit, do something maybe a tad bit different, just kind of in the moment. But I can't see this one being done any different. So Bravado is my pick.
Excellent pick. That song deserves the love. So my as I mentioned, mine would have been Speed of Love, but I just have to say, I said before we start as well, it's technically 1989. Yeah, 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 but this isn't a place for rules and regulations, okay? Hand over fist from Presto. there's something about the soaring guitar over those lush pads that just, when I was a kid and I used to listen to that one just took me to another world, and so many of the solos do, but that one in particular, just that guitar had a thinness to it almost. And that's why, I love the late 80s. I know I'm alone in that opinion a lot of times in Rush circles, but that's my favorite tone. So I just love that. I wanted to give that solo a bit of love too. All right, so we're making good time. We are at the last decade, rather double decade. So starting with Vapor Trails up to Clockwork. That's what we're dealing with now, the 2000s, so to speak, for lack of a better term. A lot of interesting songs here. Excited to see what you guys think. Alex, I'm throwing it over to you.
Not a lot of solos though. A lot of his solos kind of turned into bridge sections, or maybe he was soloing and Getty kind of has a verse over it. I wound up finding myself all over Clockwork Angels for this.
Yeah.
And at one point I'm thinking, wow, I really like Headlong Flight. It kind of has a By-Tor vibe, but I once again, I have to be maybe Mr. Predictable. I'm going to go with The Garden, because it has that feel. How certain, how well did they know that might be their last album, their last song on the last album? A Measure of a Life, and the idea that solo just with those arpeggios, those harmonies that he was playing, then just coming in with that solo. It's one of those solos. Obviously, it's not a shred solo. It's a mood solo. So that's where I am.
That is an excellent pick, and I will say, I hope everyone here saw them play that live, because the production, oh man, the production on that with the screens and the guy spinning the bike in the middle, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Excellent
Yeah,
pick.
I was 11. I wasn't old enough yet. 11 or 12.
Same.
One of the two.
No.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame. That's a shame. It was something incredible. It was incredible. All right, Derek, what you got, man? Give us a zing.
I also went all the way to the end, and I went to Clockwork Angels, but I picked the beginning of the end. Picked Caravan. That little, I don't remember who it was on a previous roundtable, said it had like a Red Hot Chili Peppers little bass part before the solo, but then the solo just explodes into this epic, crazy time. Again, it's almost how Alex puts in the solo to really tell the story of the protagonist going on his journey. And it's just a great way to start the album off, hard, heavy, impactful. You're into the story as soon as you put the album on. I mean, I have the album on vinyl, and as soon as I put that needle on and I get to that middle section, I'm just done. I'm listening to the whole album. I don't care if I only have an hour to listen to it. I'm going to listen to the whole thing.
I love it.
I'll be late for work. I don't care.
Life's too short, man. That's a great pick. I love it. Thank you for all your contributions tonight. Rob, what do you got, man? Give us a good one.
All right. Well, I actually went with a actual guitar solo, so to speak. It's actually Hope from Snakes and Arrows, and he's
pick.
by himself playing guitar, man. It's like it can't get any more solo than that, So that's the one I chose. So that's it.
Great pick.
I love that tune. I love the tuning, the open tuning. It's just a great song. So.
Yeah, I bought a 12-string because of that song.
Yeah. And you'll hear him play 12-string that often, so it's like hearing him play a wah. It's not that often that it happens. So, so he chose a nice little spot on the record to do that instrumental. Whenever Alex plays instrumental on anything, it's like an event because it's so rare, and to have that on a record, and that's the track. It's not just like an introduction or something. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's perfect.
And I believe the story with that, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the story is he was just kind of jamming and they turned on the record and they just kind of made it a song of something he just kind of made up on the spot. And I think that's such a powerful window. I'm really glad you brought this one up. That song is such a powerful window into his mind as a composer, because it's really just pick the guitar up. It's in an open tuning. Who knows how to play it? Just grab random bars and see if you can get chords and riffs. And he comes up with something beautiful, So excellent pick. Excellent pick. Kalindo. All right. What you got? Last one.
All right. Yeah, you're right. It's a lot tougher to find these solos, this era of Rush. I really loved the Clockwork Angels tour. I went to the show at Madison Square Garden. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Caravan. Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, I love the way he just comes out there just blazing, all in, from the very beginning. So that's my pick. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun song. It sounded like the song sounds like it wants to explode. It's got like it just sounds like an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Excellent. I'm glad that song is getting love because it didn't even cross my mind for this. Maybe I'm just a bad Rush fan then. I don't know. Thank you. Glad you made it, man. Very happy to have you. All right, Evan. Evan, what you got?
I went with The Larger Bowl from Snakes and Arrows. It's a really short solo. It's only like 20 or 30 seconds if I remember right. But it's I don't know. I like the simplicity. I like that it's not super flashy. Alex isn't playing at like lightning fast speeds or anything. And for me personally, it leaves me wanting a little bit more. Every time I listen to that song, I have to run it back like 45 seconds so I can hear the solo again. It's a great one.
Yeah, that's a great song and a great example of how they layered in acoustics with the band on Snakes and Arrows to give it that sound. That song has just it kind of encapsulates that sound for me, It's a great pick. Love it. All right. Almost there. Alex Goji, what you got, man? Give us a good one.
So the right answer is The Garden. I think I'm going to say that now, but that's not the one I'm going to say. The one I'm going to say is actually not technically, well, not technically, it isn't a guitar solo. It's actually Alex's solo on Working the Angels. I should preface this. I mean, I'm saying preface. This is the last one, so I probably should have mentioned this a while ago. I'm a bass player, so I play these songs on bass a lot, and specifically this one is just so fun to play with because it's Working on the Angels is a great song. Like it's already really fun to play, but especially the live version on Time Machine. That dude where Getty is just also kind of soloing underneath of that. It just creates just such an awesome sound that I just absolutely adore. But even the album version too is just so good. And it's different. It's not necessarily like it's one that, my brain is probably blanking. I'm sure there's other solos that are, probably have some quality here or there that's in this one. But this one just stood out to me so much. And it was the first one I thought of that wasn't The Garden. So that's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
So that's my pick.
I love it. I think that's a great pick. And that song, man, such a powerful lyric and a lyric that honestly deserves the kind of playing that he did. It's like, what's what he did. He just matched his playing to the song so well. It's a great pick. Glad to see it get some love. All right. Last but not least, I'm going to pick one that no one said, thankfully. And that's not me being a contrarian. This is actually my favorite solo from this era. It is Spindrift from Snakes and Arrows. There's a theme in my choices, which is that I seem to glom on to the solos that have like a real atmosphere and a texture happening around the guitar. And Spindrift is so cool because it comes out of nowhere in the song. The song is like, it's got a really heavy minor scale kind of feel. You got that like that weird interval in there in the main riff, but then the solo just opens up and it's literally like an eye in a hurricane. Like all of a sudden you're in this kind of this like, whoa, open atmospheric place with the chords are really big and lush, and the solo is just kind of simple and uplifting. And then, it takes you back into the storm after that. And for me, Rush is at their best when they take you on those left turns, and they do it with all the texture. So that's my favorite. I beat that one to death listening to that record. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. I think we made excellent time getting everyone's opinions in. I unless there's anything else anyone wants to say, I'm trying to think of a fun way to end the video of like a rapid fire. Like everyone just say one song that you really wanted to put in, but you didn't, or maybe like if you had to pick your favorite Rush solo ever, for me, like I said, Chemistry. Give it to me. Give it 5 seconds. Your favorite ever, not just by decade, ever. Alex, go.
Brunsbane.
Which one?
I said Brunsbane from Exit Stage Left, because much like Rob was saying, it is legitimately a solo piece that obviously didn't appear on any other album. And there's just the tonality, the G minor of it is just haunting.
Awesome. Derek, favorite Rush solo ever?
Limelight. Again, beautiful, haunting, just a chef's kiss.
Excellent. Rob.
Camera Eye.
Ooh.
There's too
Awesome.
many. Too many.
There are too many, but you got to pick your favorite. Kalindo, what you got? Favorite Rush solo ever?
Okay, I guess I'll go with the first time I saw, this is really obvious, but the first time I saw Rush Exit Stage Left playing Tom Sawyer live, yeah, that solo got me in. That I became a huge fan after seeing that, So I know it's pretty obvious, I've never thought about that before in my life. My favorite Alex Lifeson solo. So forgive me for the limelight. But I love the intervals. I love how he's jumping around the chord progressions there, and I just love the way that he climaxes in a very high. I forget if it's a 5 or whatever, and then he goes into the da 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 da. And the interaction between Neil, of course, and Geddy it's a great solo.
Yeah, it's better if you don't think about it too much, because then your soul will just spew out the answer, right?
Exactly.
Evan, what you got? Favorite Rush solo ever?
I already talked about it earlier, but give me a Motion Detector.
Motion Detector. Excellent choice. Alex, go G.
Analog Kid. The perfect match of power, speed, and feel.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I put that in the top 3. And funny because Analog Kid and Signals and Chemistry were next to each other on the record.
Right.
So
yeah.
Back to back. Bangers.
That's a great record.
It is. All right, everybody. Well, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. This was Rush Roundtable, and we did Lives and Souls by Decade. So much fun. Please, subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video, leave a comment, say hey. We love any and all opinions about Rush. That's what we're all about. Keeping the spirit and the soul of the fandom alive. Thank you for having me as the guest host tonight. That was so cool. Like I said before we started, it's so much fun to do these because I always just rejuvenate my passion for the band. I go back through and listen, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that, taking that time to reflect on the music and it just keeps it all alive for me. There are no Rush concerts to go to and meet all of you guys and just randomly become friends. So this is good. And I really appreciate doing this. And thank you guys all for your contributions. And yeah, I think that'll do it. And we'll see you next time. All right.
Thank you.
Peace. Take care.
Peace.